Hey there, fellow stressed employees. Welcome to the channel where we pull back the curtain on workplace nightmares. Today, we're diving into a story from John in Canada, who reached out to share what might just be one of the most stressful workplaces we've ever heard about. While we can't name the company, for obvious reasons, let's just say it's the kind of place that would rather stay out of the spotlight. So, let's hear John's story.
Walking into the office on my first day, I thought I'd struck gold. A sleek lobby, friendly smiles, and talk of endless growth opportunities. But something felt off. People dodged eye contact. The receptionist whispered into the phone like she was afraid someone might overhear. And looking back, my manager's vague sidestepping answers about work-life balance should have been a red flag. But I ignored it. I wanted the job too badly. Little did I know, I was walking straight into a corporate nightmare I wouldn't escape for years. What followed felt like an endless, exhausting chapters from a workplace horror novel. Chapter 1. The Endless Workday. I thought 9 to 5 meant just that. At this company, it was 9 to whenever they felt like letting you go. Emails came at midnight. Urgent calls during dinner were routine. Once, I got a message at 2 a.m. asking why I wasn't responding. Weekends were no longer mine. If you weren't online, you were labeled lazy. It wasn't a job. It was a never-ending grind. I stopped seeing my family. I stopped sleeping. Every day felt like a losing battle, and I was the casualty. Chapter 2. The Over-Promising Onboarding. The onboarding process was all smoke and mirrors. We're a family here, they said. We reward hard work. During training, they showed us photos of team parties and award ceremonies. But once you started, the reality hit. No support, no clear direction, and definitely no parties. It wasn't a family, it was a factory, churning through people until they broke. Chapter 3. The Toxic HR Manager. HR was supposed to be your ally, not here. Doris, the HR manager, thrived on fear. Complaints dismissed with a smirk. Maybe you're not cut out for this, she once told a colleague who dared to bring up harassment. One time, I asked for advice on dealing with burnout. Her response? You should be grateful we even hired you. It became clear that HR wasn't there to help. It was there to protect the company at all costs, no matter how many people it crushed. Chapter 4. The Unbelievable Rules from the Employee Handbook. The handbook was absurd. No eating at your desk unless HR approves. Bathroom breaks must not exceed 5 minutes. Vacation requests must be submitted 6 months in advance. The kicker? Mandatory unpaid overtime is strongly encouraged. Every rule seemed designed to strip away humanity. Even the dress code was ridiculous. Business, formal only, no exceptions. It wasn't just a workplace, it was a prison. Chapter 5. The daily team meetings turn into humiliation. Our daily meetings weren't about collaboration, they were public executions. Managers would single people out, dissecting their work with a cruelty that felt personal. I'll never forget the time my boss mocked a presentation I'd poured weeks into, calling it embarrassingly amateur. People started dreading these meetings, praying they wouldn't be the next target. It wasn't about improving, it was about power, and it was destroying us. Chapter 6. The Hostile Work Environment. It wasn't just the managers. The toxicity ran deep. Colleagues whispered behind your back, sabotaged your projects, and took credit for your ideas. Once, a coworker I'd helped threw me under the bus to save himself during a meeting. The paranoia was exhausting. Every day felt like walking into a battlefield where everyone was your enemy. Chapter 7. The Mystery of the Missing Bonuses. Bonuses were promised but never delivered. Every quarter, there was a new excuse. Technical issues, budget cuts, or we'll revisit this next year. Meanwhile, management rolled up in new luxury cars. It wasn't just greed, it was theft. Watching hardworking colleagues get nothing while the higher-ups thrived was infuriating. It became a joke, except no one was laughing. Chapter 8. The Manager's Favorites. If you weren't in the manager's inner circle, you were invisible. Their favorites got the best assignments, the praise, and even the bonuses. Meanwhile, the rest of us were left to pick up the slack. Once, a coworker blatantly missed a deadline, but got a promotion the next week because he grabbed drinks with the boss. Merit meant nothing here. Connections were everything. Chapter 9. The Revolving Door. People didn't just leave, they fled. Every week, someone new would resign or be fired. The office joke was, don't bother learning names, they won't last. But it wasn't funny. The constant turnover meant endless chaos and extra work for those who stayed. Management didn't care. To them, we were all replaceable. Chapter 10. The Fear of Speaking Up. Voicing an opinion was career suicide. I saw people raise concerns in meetings, only to be sidelined, written up, or fired shortly after. I learned to keep my head down and my mouth shut. We all did. The fear was palpable. It wasn't just about keeping your job, it was about survival. Chapter 11. The Great Office Divide. The company thrived on division. Departments blamed each other for failures, and managers encouraged it. Sales would sabotage marketing. Marketing would badmouth operations, and operations would quietly let things fail just to prove a point. Collaboration was non-existent. The company's greatest weakness was itself. Chapter 12. The overworked interns. The interns had it worst. They were promised experience, but given workloads that would overwhelm a seasoned professional. They worked unpaid overtime, stayed late, and often left in tears. Watching them burn out was heartbreaking. But management didn't care. They'd just hire more. Chapter 13. The final day. One morning, I walked into the office and realized I couldn't do it anymore. I typed my resignation letter, hit print, and handed it to my manager without a word. That day, I ignored every email, skipped every meeting, and packed up my desk in silence. As I walked out, I felt a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I had escaped, but at what cost? Chapter 14. The quiet exodus. After I left, I learned that nearly half the team had quit within months. No one announced it. There were no goodbyes or farewell emails. People just disappeared. It was as if they wanted to erase the experience entirely, to pretend it never happened. Chapter 15. The aftermath. Freedom felt strange. I had spent so long in survival mode that I didn't know how to relax. It took months to rebuild my confidence, regain my health, and remember what happiness felt like. But eventually, I found a new job, one where I was respected, valued, and even enjoyed my work. That company didn't break me. It taught me one thing: no job is worth losing yourself.
Wow, John's experience is a masterclass in workplace toxicity. The good news? He made it out. But how many others are still stuck in places like this? If you've had a similar nightmare job, we want to hear about it. Drop your story in the comments or send us a message. Until next time, stay sane out there.